In Matthew 4:19, Jesus says, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Join us in this conversation as we discuss following Jesus, leadership, and doing life with others. Welcome to the 419 Disciple Makers Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the 419 Disciple Makers Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Danzy, and we're going way across the pond this morning to a city called Poznań, Poland, and we're going to be meeting with Jarek Pietrzak. And so welcome, Jarek.
Hello, welcome, Mark.
I'm glad to be with you. Now, we can see each other because I'm recording your audio on Zoom, but our listeners are just hearing us. And it's early in the morning, so that might be a blessing to them.
Oh, yes, I think.
Well, I know that you are living out the Great Commission in Poland. I know you. I know your wife. Your family is beautiful. I know you've got twin 21-year-old boys. Tell us a little bit about your boys, because you smile from ear to ear when I mention them.
Yes, these are young men, who just decide to start their own life. So one of them went outside to study far away, very, very far away from Poland. So he's in Australia. He's studying in Sydney. He's studying multimedia, learning there in the Hillsong Church. And the second one is not far from him, actually, but very far from us in New Zealand. He decided to earn some money for his study. So they are there.
I got you. So your one boy is studying at Hillsong, huh?
Yes.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's wonderful.
He's in Hillsong. He loves music and he is passionate in multimedia. So he's learning how to make movies, Yes, and in the Christian context, I would say.
Interesting, very interesting. Well, you're interesting. So tell us a little bit about what life was like growing up as a young man in Poland.
Okay, yes, it was. I am from this generation that we still remember communistic time. So my father was one of the first entrepreneurs that was trying to change the system, or he just started to work for his own. And in my childhood, I remember, along queues, waiting for bread, waiting for meal, for everything. There was nothing in these days. Today when I am listening a little bit about what people are talking about socialism or communism, and I see some kind of interest in USA, especially between young people, about these ideas. I think I remember these ideas, and what I can say is these are not good ideas. So
nothing good about communism.
Nothing good about communism. So yes, I was growing in this environment.
Now, how old were you when the wall fell and communism began to disintegrate?
So in 89, I was 20 years old.
Okay, so you were just finding your what you wanted to do, and the world changed drastically for you.
It really was like this. So it was a new season, new possibilities, new things. And for me, the fact that I was brought in this kind of family, thinking outside of the box, was helpful, but still the change was big. So it was good time for us. And today we are, 30 years later.
Yeah, well, this whole world has been dealing with this COVID-19 quarantine, the whole globe. And so has some of the anxiety or the lack of supplies kind of been reminiscent for you about what it was like when communism fell, or is this kind of small in comparison to what that was?
Yes, some aspects are very similar because, Mark, I remember these days when in 81, one of the leader of our socialistic country in those days, General Jaruzelski, just one day informed us we are starting martial law. So it will be forbidden for you to go outside. You must sit at homes. You must be at homes. You cannot meet with people. You cannot have any public meetings. So I remember, like it would be, yesterday, that we were sitting in home in the evenings, and this is exactly the same what we are doing today with my wife.
Wow.
We are just sitting at
different
home.
reasons. Huh?
So coronavirus, with some aspects, is very similar to those days. Of course, it has many different things in itself, but a lot of challenges. and a lot of
Well, most
and a lot of possibilities also.
Well, there you go. There you go. Well, most folks who did not grow up in communism think that there was no mention of God or there was no Christianity at all. What was it like for you as a boy growing up, say up until 20, 21 years old? Were you raised in a Christian home? Had you never heard of God or what?
Yeah. So just a little bit from our Polish history, Poland was the only country in Europe where communists didn't achieve their purpose because of the Catholic Church. Catholic Church in Poland was very strong, and it was the only country that really stopped influence communism on the level of private people or families.
Really?
In other words, I was coming from a family. All of us, we believe that God exists, but the biggest challenge that we had in these days was that Christian faith was just nominal something. So Catholic Church have accomplished his mission, but in those days her mission was to fight for a freedom of existence against the communistic tyranny.
I got you. So it wasn't as much about advancing the kingdom of God as it was just surviving.
Yes, exactly. So as a result of this, many, or in those days, all of people, if you ask them, are you a Christian? They say, yes, for sure, we are. Even communists, many of the members of Communistic Party, they were attending in Sundays to the church. It was the reality here in Poland.
Interesting. Yeah, that's news to me. We would have never realized that.
Yes.
Now, so you grow up in this culture just where God is kind of in the background. Probably a symbol of pride for the Polish people is that we've been able to keep the church, so to speak, and even in communism. Where did things begin to change for you? Where was it that Jesus became real in your life?
Mm-hmm. Yes, in those days, there was in my life there was a man, my grandfather, and who had very big influence when I was a child. I grew up in a Christian family, but none of my parents were born again. Being a child, I have three sisters. I was the oldest boy. I felt some kind of responsibility for my younger sisters, especially in these days of influence of the socialism and communism. That was some hardship, some tensions, and all this stuff. But in these days, when I was growing as a young boy, I had a lot of questions. The older I was, the more questions I had. And just one day, it was very by accident. It was just one day I received information. My grandfather, who loved me very much, and I knew this since I was a boy. I felt in my heart, this man believes in me. He had this statement, Jarek, you are a bomb. And I remember this. He even in different situations when I failed, he was the guy that saw positive aspects of myself. So he was really close to my heart. And in this time, he just died. He passed away. Mm-hmm. It was in 1991. Mm. About half year later, I was in deep depression as a result of his death. Because I started...
Because he was your encourager, right? He was the man in your life that was encouraging you.
Exactly. He was encouraging me. He was giving very positive life and energy to my life.
Now, let me stop you there for a second, Jarek, because I don't know that I understood exactly what you said. You said your grandfather was a great encouragement in your life, but he had this saying where he called you a bum?
He said, when he said, you are a bum.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yes. In his language, this was, you have a power. You are...
bomb.
Bomb, yes.
Oh, okay. So in English, when you say you're a bum, it means you're no good.
Okay,
B-U-M.
No, his message.
I'm so glad I clarified that. You are a bomb. In other words, you got power. Yes, okay, I got you. All right, proceed.
Very positive for me.
Thank you for clarifying that. So you're so it's 6 months later. You're missing this mentor in your life. You're in depression.
Yes.
And take us from there.
Yes, I'm in depression, and in those days, this is my study time. I was at the University of Science studying in Poznań, and really I felt life has no sense. I started to think about the future, that one day I will die in the same way like he did. I will pass away. So what is the sense of life today? Why I am existing for? And, and each day it was worse and worse and worse. So having really pressure on myself, I started to drink alcohol. My colleagues, my friends from study, they try to help me as they could. So they just, they saw that there's something not good with me, and
so you were in pain and you were looking for something to medicate that pain.
Yes,
just happened to be alcohol.
Exactly. They tried the best to help me, but they couldn't. And one day I remember this day exactly. It was 9 of November 91. I was lying on the bed in my hostel culture, in students' hostel, thinking in this day to suicide. Suicide. And I have planned to jump from 10th floor down.
My goodness.
And I had these feelings, and I was proceeding all these things in my mind. It was evening, and I was laying on the couch and just thinking what I will do. And in the same day, one colleague from my study, she came, and the rest of my guys from the room, they said something is not good with this guy. He's really in a very bad condition. So she said, Jarek, I would like to take you with me for a walk and just go together somewhere, just do together something. So we went there outside, and then she said, I would like to take you for a Christian meeting, just to meet with Christians. And, when she said Christians, I felt like, no, this is the last point I want. I don't want to go to the church. In my mind, Christianity means church, means people who pray rosary, and do some Catholic things that I don't believe this. It will not change my life. I have tried for some time actually this stuff, but it didn't work. So but in this time I said, okay, just we can go wherever you want. And we went. You were just going
to go with the flow, right?
Yes, exactly. I was like a dog, just was just. So she went there and she took me there, and by the grace of God, it was a group of believers. These were guys who were a part of Campus Crusade for Christ camp. And so it was like a campus. And first time, actually it was second time in my life, I have heard a clear message of Christ. Somebody just said clear message about why Jesus Christ died on the cross. And it was second time in my life. First time it was 1.5 years earlier when I was a freshman in my university. Also, people from Campus Crusade for Christ, they came to us and they shared the gospel. But I needed 1.5 years to be in this stage where my ears are open.
Well, I'm just constantly amazed by how you could be on a couch in your room, depressed, thinking about suicide, and the Lord Jesus would send a young girl to you to bring you to Him. It's just amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing.
And you heard the simple gospel. You didn't hear a message about church history. You didn't hear a message about about 10 ways to deal with life. You heard the message of Jesus, and that is what penetrated your heart.
Exactly. It was like a light in the night. Exactly. If you ask me what was the worst day in your life, the answer would be the 9th of November. And if you ask me what was the best way of your life, the answer is the 9th of November.
So your lowest day and your highest day was on the same day.
It was my birthday.
So November 9 is your spiritual birthday.
It is.
I'll try to remember that. Send you something.
Thank you, then.
Yeah. Well, mine was October 22nd, 1989. So I'm only 2 years older than you spiritually.
Okay.
Yeah, but you seem older than me spiritually. So you hear the gospel, the good news of Jesus, why He died for your sins. Do you accept Jesus that night, or do you go home and think about this, or what?
Yes, I will tell you, this is a testimony of the power of God, because when the meeting was in the half time, I felt in my heart, I must go out of this place. I feel these people are strange. They are praying to God. I believe in God. Why they are praying in this way to God? I feel I am strange. I must go home. So I said to my to the colleague, I will go. I must go out. And she said, Jarek, please do not go. I would like you to talk with one man. And then this man just came. When he started to speak, and he started from idea, you are familiar, Mark, probably, for spiritual law, Campus Crusade for Christ idea.
Yes, the 4 spiritual laws. It's very effective.
Yeah,
a very effective tool.
Yes, it was effective in my life, and he started to talk that God is good, but I have problem, and my problem is a sin. When he started to talk about sin and sinless life, I felt like somebody would just switch on the TV, and part of my life from the past, my sins just went through this TV, and I felt if I would die now, I am cursed. I go to hell. It was really very strong feeling inside and in my mind. I just felt I am a sinner. So when he moved to the next points, and finally he said that God has solution and Jesus Christ died for the sins of people, I felt in my heart something that I cannot, even today, describe. It was like a black and white. It was night and day. It was something, during the talk. It was not that I was praying. During the talk, I felt my heart changed.
Wow!
And then I prayed. And asked him to ask the Lord to forgive my sins and cleanse me. And he did it immediately. And and this was the most wonderful day.
Well, this is where you switched from darkness to light.
Right? Exactly. And so inside I felt this, that my heart now is in light, but also outside. I felt like I must tell this I must tell about this fact to different people. So even in the tramway, somewhere on the way, I was full of life, full of joy. I couldn't stop it, and I start to to share with some friends, some students, and that I just met Christ. And I went to my hostel, to my friends, opened the door, and I said to him, guys, I've met Christ. I've met Christ. So for them, the conclusion was, this is probably the last stage of his problems.
He's really gone off the deep end now. Huh?
He's really in very deep depression, probably.
Oh my goodness!
So, but it was the beginning of new life for me.
Well, and I imagine you're in school there, and so thank God for this girl who convinced you to stay, who convinced you to go, who convinced you to stay, and then to talk to someone. The power of invitation is what I'm hearing there, Jarek.
Wow.
And just her being invitational changes a life. And we always think, well, it's up to us to do it all. Sometimes it's only up to us to just invite someone to come.
Yes.
Like she did for you. Thank God for her.
Yeah.
Thank God for her.
Yes.
Now take us from there, because now you're born again. You've got this passion to share Jesus with people. You're studying science at university. And what happens after that?
So yes, the man that was sharing the gospel with me, his name was Jerry in English, let's say, Jurek in Polish. And so Jurek brought me to Christ. He explained me 4 spiritual law. He prayed with me, and he became my father, my spiritual father, my guide. As a result of my decision, and he recognized that my decision was not just fake; it was a real one. Mm-hmm. And he saw that the hunger to know God, to know Him more, is growing in me each day. As a result, he decided we will live together. Next year, he was living in hostel, so he resigned from being with his colleague, and he just decided to be with me in my room. So for next year, we've been together, being close friends to each other. So wow. He was really, today from this perspective, I see he was a responsible father. I mean, he was like a spiritual friend, brother, but he was my spiritual father.
And so he was discipling you, but you probably didn't know what that meant at that time.
Yes. So he was discipling me, exactly. And he was doing according to Campus Crusade for Christ rules and ideas. And, in those days, I didn't understand it. But today I see, by the grace of God, I have received a good ground, good foundation.
Sure.
Because...
Well, you're rare. Most people, the person who leads them to Christ doesn't spend the next year with them, discipling them. I hear people that have that experience, and boy, do they have a good foundation. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, but like you said, Mark, in those days, I didn't understand it. I just felt this is normal. It should be like this.
And so from there, you went on to study in Sweden. Is that correct?
Yes.
You went up to...
Yes. So for some time, I was living in my small town Śmigieł, not far from Poznań in Poland, and start to share the gospel with my friends, with my family. 3 of my sisters were born again.
Wow!
Immediately, very similar like I was. It was conversion after conversion, and my part of my friends, they were born again and born again and born again, and I felt like this is wonderful. I just love this. Everybody with whom we share is born again, and we will just change this nation. So we had this idea that the Catholic Church, Roman Catholic Church, that is almost dying, will be changed. We will change the situation in Poland. But unfortunately, it was not the truth. Yes, of course, as a result of this, group of our friends were born again, and we start a fellowship, Christian fellowship, and we felt like this: we must go to priest. Just tell him where we are.
Okay.
So we went to him, and we said to him, we just met Christ, and his life is wonderful, and we would like to do something here in the parish, but he unfortunately was not open on this idea. So he said, no, tell me, what do you believe? And we said, so do you believe in salvation by faith? Yes. Do you believe in this, in this, in this? Yes. Okay, you have 2 choices. You will change your mind, or you must go out from this place. So
my goodness.
It was radical.
So let me get this right. So here's all these young people excited about meeting Jesus. You go to the priest, and he basically tells you to not be excited about Jesus or leave.
Yes. So it was shock for us. It was shock for us,
Of course.
And so as a result, there were some days when we have no possibility to meet in a parish. And my town was a small town. Everybody knew each other. So we start to meet in homes. But as a result, our parents start to understand that probably we are a sect, or maybe a witness of Jehovah. As a result, priest was very negative about us. So as a result, our houses were shut for us, and we have to have meeting in the nature. So we start to meeting in forest.
Wow!
Just being together there, worshiping the Lord and sharing, our life. We were children without fathers, without people who were leading us.
Wow!
So we had only each other and the Holy Spirit and the Bible.
But that was enough.
But it was
enough.
It was enough.
Praise the Lord.
For more information, check out our website, 419disciplemakers.org. Join us again next week as we continue our conversation on the 419 Disciple Makers podcast.